Hey, what's up? I'm Joel Madden, and this is Artist Friendly. On this episode, I'll be talking to Grammy-nominated singer, songwriter, and filmmaker Grace Potter. Let's go.
That's my kind. I don't want no bad times. I don't want to have bad.
I don't know anything about.
I'm not an
stuff.
expert on
beat building,
on gear.
No, we're not going to talk about. If we're talking about gear, I should have had my husband be here. So
Well, I do want to talk about your husband.
you can talk about my husband. I was really hoping he would sandbag both of us and just show up
I was hoping that too.
in the middle of the interview. Just be like, hey.
You know, your husband, Eric
Yes.
Valentine, for people listening, one of the greatest record makers of all time, in my opinion. And a lot of people would agree with me. I'm not like, it's not obscure for me to say
It's
that.
not obscure. Everybody knows somebody.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't mean to not just jump right into a good Charlotte song, but that would be embarrassing for you.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, no, it's not embarrassing.
But also, we've been around the world, and there's just no place we've been where people don't know, you know.
You have been touched by a sound from Eric Valentine, whether you know it or not.
Yes.
And
Oh,
he
God,
is,
that's so sexy.
yeah. And
Oh, that just got me all kinds of hot
hey,
fired.
and by the way, okay, luckily we have as much time as we need as
Yeah.
far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
But so what I have to say is, not only before I finish saying what I want to say about Eric Valentine, because he's been a very important person in my life,
Yeah.
I then discovered just recently, that he's on Instagram.
Oh, yeah. That was me. Nerdentine. That was me.
Which is like the best Instagram name ever. It fits him
It
perfectly.
is him. Yeah.
And he has a fucking very debonair haircut.
I know. That was me too.
And, and he is like great to follow on Instagram.
He's rare, but his posts are so random and nerdy.
But that's
That's why it's so fun.
why that's when you get to know Eric and you get the opportunity to spend any amount of time around him, you learn very quickly, like, he's the best kind of nerd there is. There's
he's
no
welcoming,
one.
you know?
Yes, he's
Yeah.
not of judgmental intellect.
No.
Because he is intellectual.
But he doesn't condescend on people.
He's not condescending. He's very graceful with his ability to receive that you really don't have a clue what you're talking about or what he's talking about.
Right.
But you want to engage when when you step into his world and he's figuring out these like math problems of music. Because the man can figure out and deconstruct a sound better than anyone I've ever experienced in the world. I've never met a brain that can hear something and the first thing they jump to is how did they get the sound versus like, wow, that was a great lyric. Or that's me, like that melody is out of control. He's hearing the sounds, he's hearing the layers, he's hearing, there's something very scientific about the way his brain hears music, but he's still a musician.
See, I think it's sexual. Like that was why I fell in love with him by watching his fingers on the faders.
Yeah.
What you said about how he's been touched, like whether you know it or not, you've been touched by an Eric Valentine record. I think that might be his intention. I think that he gets off on making something that you've never heard before.
Special.
So special that you cannot explain it. It's almost like a Pavlovian reaction to a thing that you don't understand. Yeah. And I think that maybe you're probably a little more empirical of a thinker than I am. I'm definitely I'm all like sacral, just like, where's the fire?
All instincts,
what's burning?
All feeling.
Yes. And as we always say when we're telling stories, I remember how it felt. He remembers how it happened.
Right. Yeah.
So maybe you're a little more like Eric.
I feel like I probably relate to Eric in the sense of like I could see him in the struggle when he's trying to figure something out.
Oh, yeah.
And relate to it in my own way, even though we weren't having the same struggle.
It's the chase though, right?
It's the chase of the thing, and there's an authenticity to wanting to achieve it for real yourself.
Yes.
Not phone it in and just take the copy.
No.
And I also learned a lot from Eric. I say on the list of people who have influenced or affected my life the most over the course of 45 years, if there was a 5, Eric Valentine is one of those 5.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't actually say that many other people in the music industry I would put on that list because, as artists, we're always going to have a complicated and conflicted relationship with the business of art.
Yeah, and he figured that out too. I mean, he tried to have a record company, and he and Tony Berg launched the sort of the artist way approach to record making. And you can't take two creatives like Eric and Tony Berg and expect that anything but chaos is going to come out of it. And I believe that all of the artists and people, I mean, they love each other and they still talk all the time, but some people should not be on the record making side as A&R people, managers, and the people who are also making the records. I think Arif Mardin is the only one I can think of who like really kind of, and maybe, I mean, Quincy Jones a little, but he was never a manager. I think there's something about the trial and error, what you're talking about the chase, and watching Eric just want it to be an authentic arrival at a thing that feels true.
Every time. He did it every time.
And
he would figure it out.
If it's a fail, then that's also something he's learning,
Yeah. I also learned not to judge my failures as failures too quickly.
Yes.
Because I'll discover later on what they really were.
Yeah.
And so I've learned how to like put that into practice more.
Yeah.
Because I tend to get caught up, if I'm not careful, on the instant gratification of like the result of something too fast, where I need to let go and go like, okay, actually I need to focus on the thing that I'm making that I care about. And then I need to like move on once I feel that's complete.
Yeah.
And let the results be whatever they are. And then I'll judge it later.
But if you're working with someone you don't trust, and if you have a producer with you that is not going to give you a well-rounded understanding, it'll take you offline. And then you get protective. You get into a place of you're protecting your brand because someone else doesn't have you in mind.
Yeah.
And I think that Eric is always thinking about the mindset of an artist in the moment more than the mindset of the overarching career of an artist.
Yes.
Which is why, when I made my record, I came in with my rock band and he was stoked because he's like, this band is already great. Like, we're just going to get a killer live record. It's going to be really fast. A year and a half later, I had broken up with my band in front of him in the studio, by the way. Very, very dramatic events, that of course he'd seen before many times. But also he was like, wait, so you just now decided that you want to like just delve into disco? Like, why do you want to make a disco record? You're a blues, like you're a Southern rock blues chick.
Yeah, I see you as like
jam band blues.
I see you as almost like a true country, blues, Southern rock.
Yeah,
it's the world of like I couldn't say
I love this.
I couldn't label it, but I'd say it's like country leaning rock, blues. So you fit in the country category to me. Like I've always heard you as a country artist. And it's like the Americana country that like exists all over America. Like I grew
like
up
outlaw country.
Yeah.
Outlaw
like
country. Waylon Jennings and stuff,
Yeah, you fit in that world. Like the Stapleton tour is perfect.
Yeah.
Because you guys are in the same world to me.
Yeah.
Like good songs, really good performances of the vocals, but it's not overdone. Like when you hear the song, it's like true blue rock and roll. You can hear the guitar being played, you can hear the instruments, and like you can get that wrong if you're trying to do that, but if you just live and breathe that, you do it really right.
Exactly.
And you've always done that just like perfectly.
You have to be in step with what you're
It has to be you.
Aiming for.
It's just got to be you.
Well, that's why in the record making process, I had made records with people who I didn't trust. I didn't understand what they wanted from me. And ultimately I tried to become whatever they wanted, but they weren't making it clear what that was. It was this sort of, the gecko or the chameleon chasing the color.
Yeah, when you're young.
Yeah.
You're just trying to please everybody because
absolutely.
I got this opportunity and I don't want to let anyone down. And
I mean, and I was a really ugly duckling. So when Disney came asking to take me and my band and like elevate things up to a Linda Ronstadt Eagles level, it was Bob Cavallo's swan song at Hollywood Records, and he signed us. It was like one of those last $1 million contracts, early 2000s.
Yeah.
And all I remember is thinking, yes, I'm so lucky, but boy, what have I just teed myself up for? Like what course am I on?
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for it. I had 10 years at Disney where I got to do everything I ever wanted with scoring. Film was always my passion before the band. And I started making little like short films in college. And my musicianship, I felt, would just lend itself because I wouldn't have to hire someone to score the movie. And then I met the band, and that, all changed. And suddenly the filmmaking and the storytelling, and also just the collaboration of a whole project of people, got lost. And the singular focus on playing festivals and getting out there in front of more and more audiences, opening for people like Dave Matthews and Taj Mahal and Mavis Staples, like that felt just as good. And it felt like we were a part of something bigger than just me trying to be a big old star. And so it felt genuine, but I really missed the chance I wanted to be like a cartoon voice, Right. So I got to do that. And I got to do a lot of other things at Disney that were really fun. What
cartoon voice were you?
I was the bartender in the Christmas special. It was basically just like where the elves that set up for Santa.
Yeah. That's
Prep
cool.
and Landing.
I love that.
Prep and Landing.
Great.
And that's where I first worked with Michael Giacchino. That was the moment when I realized that I wanted to get back into film. And leaving behind the feeling of like being isolated by a record, like where the expectations of the A&R people, the label's all there, the pressure's on, they're waiting for you to knock it out of the park.
Yeah.
I never didn't feel that pressure. It always felt like brain surgery until I met Eric.
Yeah, Eric brings it back to the actual thing we're there to do, which is make a record.
And love making that record.
Yeah, and I think we all experience that. You get in there and everything's so big, and like the A&R guys, he must know what he's talking about because look at all those records on his wall.
Yeah.
You have no idea how the guy was involved in those records, right?
Also, you can just buy records. I didn't know this, but you can just go buy records that you were not a part of.
Yeah, call up Jewel.
I'm really upset about this.
Yeah, Jewel, the company.
Yeah.
There's a but
it makes me really scared.
But what I realized in my older age was the kid who was 15 and said, I think I can do that, I'm going to try, had to validate himself every step of the way because me and my brother were just trying and no one gave a fuck.
Yeah.
I was like, good luck, kids.
Yeah. They're really going for it, aren't they?
And you're like, no, I'm serious. This is what I want to do. Okay, good job. That's pretty good. Oh, maybe you could be like them. And you're like, no. Take this seriously. I'm going to do this. And then you get there and then you do it.
And then you do it.
And then you have a new set of people.
And that's not the end either.
And then you have a new set of people who are like, we'll see. If you listen to me, kid, you might make it. And I'm like, as an older guy, I'm like, I wouldn't let you pick out my shoes.
Yeah. No, I know. I really.
Let alone a song on my record.
That's exactly why I didn't understand what A&R was. And when I heard that Eric and Tony had tried to have a record company, I was like, but why?
Yeah.
Like, what is that? What is your job?
Well,
what do you do?
I'll tell you why. Because they want to fix something.
Yeah.
And that's noble. It is. Then they realize that they may not want to go through what you have to go through to be a part of that process. And I think that I wouldn't say that that's a failure. I would say that because the truth of the matter is if they decided to continue on, they would likely be still doing it and very successful at it because successful people, they replicate success. It just takes time. So it's like, if I stay in here long enough, I'm going to figure out this game and I'm going to win this game too.
Right. It's a video game.
But it's a long...
Is the whole world just Fortnite?
The whole world is Fortnite.
I mean, really though.
I wish it was sometimes, to be honest with you. It's a really
then everyone would just
magical
be screaming
place
like Freddie Mercury everywhere. It'd be like, hi, the silhouettes of you. We have a hit record.
Yeah, I always wonder how whatever the shield is, so it actually make you feel. Is that like alcohol or mushrooms?
Orb, shield, or I don't know.
It's like splash.
I wouldn't know.
Slurp.
Chug jug.
Chug jug.
Chug jug?
Yeah, it gives you shield.
I had no. Okay, that's a fucking made up thing. That's not a real thing.
No, it's a real thing.
Okay.
So all I'm saying is that they at very probably in the early stages of what would have been a long period of development realized this is not a game I want to play. I'm gonna go back to what I like to do because quality of life versus.
Yeah.
So
you made that choice when? How old were you when you figured that out?
I'd say I learned how to choose quality of life, those kinds of decisions in the last 10 years.
Right. Me too.
35 to 45.
Yeah. I mean, I'm 40, and I think there's been eras of my life where I really thought I had it all figured out, but I was still people pleasing.
You're very young.
Yeah.
40.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I am wearing sunglasses.
Yeah. I can't tell if I'm an old 45 or a young 45, but I feel in the middle.
I think your experience is different than most people, so it's hard to compare you to anyone, except that you do have a twin. It's like the astronauts, Scott Kelly and his brother, you know, where they're like, okay, y'all have both been to space for a long ass time.
Let's go to space.
What's your bones like?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.